Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this tutorial we are going to see what is Dockerfile and what is the use of Dockerfile. So as you must have seen my earlier tutorial on what is Docker, why we need the tool and technology like Docker. There I have already explained what is the necessity of all these containerization and orchestration framework, but the way it handles all the creating the images, creating the containers, is by using some kind of a convention, we can say, which is known as Dockerfile. So in a simpler word, let's say if we wanted to create our own container, like for example, I wanted to have my own own Docker image, where a specific version of Python must be installed, a specific Python program which I want to write. I need to run that particular Python program inside that Docker image or container. So how to achieve this? Like whatever images that we usually see, like for example, if you go to Docker website, like let's say Docker images. So there are various images that you will see here. Like for example, if I just take you to Docker Hub, there is something called as Docker Hub, right? So all these kinds of Docker images are there for use, and you can use it for whichever purpose that you want. Or like for example, if you just search for a Docker image with MySQL, for example, yeah, then you will see a official image on the Docker Hub. And if you pull this particular Docker image by giving the syntax docker pull MySQL, then you will have your MySQL image, MySQL ready to installed and ready to use with you. On the same lines, let's say we wanted to create our own Docker image, then what is the way to create those Docker image, and how we can create those using something called as Dockerfile. So what Docker has given us a kind of a utility which we can use to create our own images. Even like someone must have created this particular MySQL images and they have pushed it onto the Docker Hub, right? As you can see, this is the Docker Hub where all the Docker images you can find. On the same lines, we also can create our own image on our laptops and our dev machines, and we can push it onto the Docker site, and it is available publicly for anyone to use it actually. Yeah, and that's the beauty of any open source ecosystem that Docker has built. Like for example, that we can create our own images, and we can just make it available to use for the open source community, where they can just on the same lines, they will pull your image by having the syntax docker pull, let's say whatever image that you have, test or whatever, right? And they will be able to download that image and use it basically. Yeah, so let's try to understand the basics of Dockerfile, right? I try to explain why we need Dockerfile. Just to repeat that, if we wanted to create our own image, right, then the utility using which we can do that is Dockerfile. Yeah, it has a very specific syntax, it has its own grammar, and we will try to understand that in this tutorial. Before that, let's try to understand, or let's try to think through what we want to create. So let's keep it very simple. Let's say we wanted to create an image with Python installed in it, a very specific version of Python. And once we install Python, we'll just write a very simple Python script which just prints kind of a hello world onto the console, and we'll try to deploy that, and we'll try to create an image with these two things which I just explained. Now before going here, let me show you Docker images for Python. So just go to Google, go to this official Python image of Docker Hub, and you can see that the Python images are available. And if you wanted to use it in the Dockerfile, as you can see here, that these are the supported tags and respective Dockerfile links. So let's say if we wanted to which version of Python, let's say we wanted to use, let's say we want 3.13, 06, Alpine 3.19. There are lots of tags that are been mentioned here, and they are different in some or the other way. Some tags are created where the base operating system is Alpine, and on the top of it they have the Python version installed. So there are various differences, and in at least in this tutorial I don't want to go into the details of how these tags are different. Maybe other, another topic for discussion. But for now, let's try to understand this, that let's say for example we wanted to use this uh, tag to create our own image, that 3.13 Alpine 3.19. Yeah, so now what I'll do is I'll just copy this tag. Yeah, okay, and now what we should do is, let me log into the command prompt, and currently I am in my home directory. So here let's do one thing. Let's create mkdir and uh, docker custom image. Yeah, let's go to this directory, docker custom image, and here we should create this docker file. Now Dockerfile, since it is kind of a utility, we have to follow certain things that is been mentioned by Docker. That name of this file where you will write all what you need is going to be a very specific name that they have they have standardized it, and the name of that file has to be like this, Dockerfile without any extension, where D is capital, rest of the things are small, right? So we create this file, vi Dockerfile, and here then we write kind of a steps that we want our image to build for, right? So first thing that we need to build one base image, and the way you refer the base image is something which I just showed you, that you refer all these are the base images actually, the one which you are seeing here, right? So the name of the base image is Python, and then you can go for the very specific tag which you want, right? So we write it here like Python, which is the name of the base image, and then you just copy whatever you have you just paste whatever you have copied from the official Docker page, which tag you want to use, right? When we say I want to create a basic simple image having Python, then we have to mention which tag we wanted to create with. Okay, so let me show you something different. I'm gonna save this particular file now, and I'm going to come out of it, and let's create one Python, very simple Python script which print just hello world, and we'll try to I'll try to show you what we're gonna do with that Python script. In the same directory, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this app.py, which is my Python file, and I'll just print a very okay. So vi print, in this I'll just write hello world. Yeah, a simple print statement, hello world. I'm coming out of it. So this is what I have created. Now what I want to do as a part of my custom image is I want to copy this Python file into the Docker file or into the Docker image, right? And to do this, if I go to this Docker file where we already have our first line created, then I'll say work dir is, let's say, app, right? That means what it does is, once it downloads this base image, once it creates this base image with this base image and whatever tag that you have mentioned, what it will do is, inside this particular image it will create one directory called as app, because I have mentioned it here that I wanted to, once you create this, and it is kind of a sequential execution, that it will execute this line first. Once this is successful, it will go to this line. It will see that, okay, after creating an image, I need to create one directory under this, right? And then after that, what I want to do is I want to copy my app.py into this app directory. Yeah, this is what I wanted to do as a part of this execution. Yeah, So it will create this slash app directory, and it will copy this app.py, which is on my local. It will copy, and we have to make sure that we have this particular app.py file on our local where we are creating the Docker file. Otherwise you give the full path wherever this particular file is present, and you make sure you have the proper permissions to access this particular file. Yeah, so you do this, you copy the app.py file to app, and inside app.py you already know what kind of code that we have. So I'm gonna close this here. The important thing is how these keywords from, work, dir, and then copy, and it has some significant meaning in terms of Docker. That from is you create the base image, then work dir is I wanted to create this slash app folder inside the image, and then I wanted to copy this app.py from my local machine into the slash app directory that you will create inside this particular image. So that is the meaning of the Docker file. I'm again gonna save this particular file, and now it's a time where we can execute this particular Docker file, or we can build, in a more accurate terminology, we can build this particular Docker file. How to build this Docker file is by using docker build -t, and then here you need to provide the name of the image that you wanted to give. So for example, test custom, let's make it as py, or maybe I'll just make it as image tester, and I'll just make the version of it as well. So this is how you give name to your image. That name of the image would be image_tester, right? And the version through using which I wanted to release this particular image is v1, right? So docker build -t image tester v1, and then you give this dot as in here is a place where you will get this docker file, right? So press enter, it will start reading your Docker file, and it will start building the image for you. And once you see this particular status as finished, that means you can understand that your image has been built. Now how to see the image that is been built is by using a command called as docker images. So if I do this, then you will see this image tester. This is the name of the image that we have just created. The tag or version of this particular image is v1 because that's what we have mentioned it here. Then it always assigns some kind of image id to that respective image, which is this, and then you know what time it is created, what is the size of this image, and then whatnot, right? So this is how, using Dockerfile, we can create the image. Now how to run this particular image? So to run this, what you do is docker run name of the image tester :v1, and you just press enter. So what it will do is it has executed this this particular image, and it will run this. Yeah, so if I just do this, now let's understand one more thing is yeah, if you see this, when we run this particular command, right, and if you docker ps-a, what it will do is it will create a container out of this. Yeah, so what it has done is once we ran this particular command, the output of this particular command was creating the container of corresponding to this particular image, and this is the line, right? So what it says is this is the container id. The image which it is running inside this container is this image underscore tester version v1. What is the command there is python 3, because that's what we have in the image, and it has been created 36 seconds ago, right? So this is what we created our own image. We then we ran it to create the container out of it. Now let's see one more thing, how we can log into this particular image inside, right? How to log into the image. To log into the image, this is what you need to do. You have to give something called as entry point. Yeah, so docker run, as you can see in this particular command, you have to run a command like this, docker run, then you give -it, then there is one more point, parameter that you have to give is entry point equals to /bin/sh, and then name of your image and whatever tag it has corresponding with it. So you run this and you should be able to log into this particular image, right? If you remember our Docker file, then we asked specifically to the Docker that whenever you will create this image, create a directory called as /app there. And you can see as told, Docker in the Docker file, it has created this /app directory for us. And now if you just do ls, we have copied our app.py file as well. If you see the code inside this, then it is going to be print hello world. And now inside this, you can basically execute this app.py and it will work as if you are running your Python file, whatever. Now this is kind of a base image that is available to you, and you can do whatever you want. You can run any commands that you generally run, like date. It will give you all those kinds of utilities that you get in any Linux basically, right? So it's kind of a lightweight Linux operating system itself. Yeah, so this is how guys, we can create our own images. We can run those, we can log in into those particular images, and we can do whatever thing. Now here, even though you have not like in your Docker file, let's say you have not copied any other Docker file or anything else, then you can just create a number of files, anything that you want inside this particular image by doing vi. You can create some other Python file if you wanted to create some Python scripts, wanted to execute them. So all the Python environment is available to you, and you can use it as if you have installed Python on your local machine. Yeah, and that's the beauty, that's the reason why using Docker files to create your own custom images is makes our developers life very easy, because you already have everything installed, everything configured, pre-configured for you, and it is ready to use. Basically, you just don't have to spend much time on installing Python or whichever software on which you want to use. It is all set up for you, and you can just directly use it for the purpose you wanted to use it for. Okay, I hope this will give you a lot of clarity on what is Dockerfile, how to use it, what happens when we build the Dockerfile, run the Dockerfile. Okay, so thanks guys, thanks for watching this tutorial. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.